What is up, everybody? I have a lot to talk about this week. Prego Story Corps collab is first up. Um, they released a monitoring device for your home. It's meant for your family to set on their table and it records your voice. It's called the Connection Keeper. Introducing the Connection Keeper bundle. The moments that matter most often get lost. Prego is helping families keep them. It says come back Monday, 4:27 at noon EST. Oh, that's in 25 minutes for me, actually. So I definitely am going to keep you updated about that. It's designed for families. It says everything you need to capture authentic moments, nothing you don't. It's rechargeable via USB-C. StoryCorps portal records your family conversations and archives them. It's built to last. It's a durable design that withstands the chaos of family dinners. So consider there's a special offer for Mother's Day. So consider it. I do want to switch over to jazz. The Wikipedia page is jazz in parentheses soft drink. Jazz was an American brand of zero-calorie soda drinks introduced by PepsiCo in the summer of 2006, discontinued in 2009. Came in 3 dessert-themed flavors: black cherry, French vanilla, strawberries and cream, and caramel cream, the last of which was launched in 2007. My TikTok algorithm for the past week has mostly been discontinued foods from the 90s. This was something that came up. I don't remember this at all. I mean, this is the 2000s, I guess. But ethnomusicologist Mark Laver argues that the campaign was intended to target a young and specifically African American clientele. Maybe that's why I missed it. It's very exciting, the packaging. The company had also envisioned an interactive website as part of the campaign that would allow viewers to remix Sarasi's soundtrack, but it was never developed, unfortunately. PepsiCo shut down the Pepsi Jazz website in May 2008. It had been discontinued by that time after poor sales and the greater success of another flanker, Pepsi Max, which launched in North America in 2007. Oh, Pepsi Jazz is mentioned in the motion picture The Promotion as John C. Reilly is setting up a soda display. That's funny. I don't know that movie at all. Looks like Fred Armisen is in it. But John C. Reilly was the guest on Office Hours Live last week, so there's a connection there. Okay, let's move on to my third big food news update of the week. Haichu, the Japanese candy, is produced in a town outside of the Triangle. I guess, I don't know if it's part of the Triangle or not. It's called Mebane. It's going to be the new future site of the first Buc-ee's in North Carolina, I believe. I bought a truck there from a man named Greg Cheatham. He used to live on a tobacco farm near me, but his parents got bought out in the 80s when they were buying out all the tobacco farmers. He buys fleet vehicles at auction now and resells them. You can get a great deal from a truck from this guy, Greg Cheatham in Mebane. Anyway, Mebane, there's not a lot going on, but apparently it's been the home of Morinaga, a Japanese company that produces Haichus. They have a factory there, and they're going to build another factory. They're expanding production because Haichu is so popular. And I was wondering why I kept seeing Haichus around here. The receptionist at work always has a bowl of Haichus on the reception desk. Anyway, next update is about my cats. I think I'm going to skip over most of it. I mean, my main point is that I feel like I'm being monitored by the health department just by having cats in my house who, if food is left out for over 30 minutes, it's considered spent. They need it to be taken away. They need to be cleared. So I do feel like I'm working in a restaurant all day. And it reminded me of the time that when I worked at Milk Bar in New York, the health department came in. I mean, they always came in like once a year, but they wanted to shoot a video about pastry cases using our pastry case. And the point of the video was to teach you how long after you put the pastry in the pastry case do you have to throw it away. And it's a ridiculously short time. It's like, 30 minutes after you put a croissant in a pastry case, you need to throw it away, which nobody does. And it was so obviously stupid. I mean, the health department left after filming this video. We don't even follow at Milk Bar. We didn't even follow. Sorry if you're listening, Milk Bar management, but we were keeping them in there all day. Anyway, they got mad at me because I wouldn't smile for the health department video. First of all, I was not being paid. They were forcing me to do this against my will. I don't even know if I signed a release form. I was pissed. So I'm in a health department video. I don't know if they're still using it, but be on the lookout if you're being trained by the New York Health Department. Sorry that I keep talking about surgery, but I'm wondering if I should go interview the woman down the road who's a koi pond surgeon. I mean, why do I keep saying that? A koi fish surgeon. I want to know what her life is like. I want to know what, I don't really want guests on the pod, but what if we interviewed the koi fish surgeon? Not really food related. I'm sure someone's eaten a koi fish. I have a Swiffer product update. When I moved in 4 years ago or so, there was a plastic Swiffer dust wand in the house. I finally purchased duster pads for the wand about a month or two ago at this point, and I have not used them. Ordering the pads, like finally sitting down and placing the order for the Swiffer dust pads and then getting them delivered and unpackaging them, breaking the box down, putting them away on a shelf. That sort of had the same effect of feeling like I cleaned the house. I don't know if I'll ever actually use them. I do need to clean the walls. This is the longest that I've ever lived in one place as an adult. Being in New York, being in Chicago, I was moving around a lot, always trying to find the best deal on rent, avoiding terrible roommates, mostly in New York. Chicago, I never had roommates, and they were roommates. So I feel like it would be easier to just move, like pack up this house and move somewhere else than clean all the walls. That's the thing about staying somewhere for a long time. You have to actually deep clean it. And I think I'd rather just move. My sister has reported that the lemon strawberry cake shake at Portillo's is fantastic. It tastes like the lemon ricotta cookies that she makes for Christmas. I think I've referenced them on a holiday episode. Their New York Times recipe, they are fantastic the second day. You do want to wait on those. Speaking of strawberry lemon and Milk Bar, the pickled strawberry jam and lemon cake at Milk Bar was my favorite cake flavor. And cake truffle, they call them cake truffles. Every spring that flavor came back, and I was so excited. I highly recommend it. For the pickled strawberry jam, I think it was just added vinegar, but the strawberries sort of need that added tartness to balance it out. That's it for updates. Let's get into scents. I'm slowly making my way through my surrender to chance order, which I didn't mention when I got it in the mail. It came from a random woman in like Iowa named Patty, and I'm so confused by that. Maybe it was Kansas. I don't know. Closed my eyes and I picked out a sample. This time it's Fern Giola. FFERN. Okay, the official description is a novel. It's insane. As the twilight thickens, laced boots crunch on silvered leaves. Along the edge of the forest, an ancient tradition is beginning. The wren The capitalized Wren boys march in single file, whooping, singing. One carries a brass birdcage. It glows in the lamplight. We are at the heat, maybe they meant heart, of Giola, the ancient 12-day celebration of midwinter. This is the wheel's darkest spoke, marking the end of the calendar year. Duran says, "For me, this scent is all about warmth, shadow, and comfort during the darkest days of the year. The first bath feels ancient and enveloping, like stepping into a quiet, candlelit space to share the stories in the stillness." Giola opens with a gently fading sunset, a gleam of bergamot that shimmers across a changing sky. Clove, cinnamon, and nutmeg bring stronger colors, little sparks of heat. Around these spices, we combine the luxurious warmth of vanilla and roasted tonka with the glowing meditative tones of tolu and Peru balsam. They sank these gourmand notes into a depth of almost bitter rooibos tea and coffee, cutting through the sweetness. Along the edges of the woods, the oak trees are brown and leafless. Further in, tall firs, a crystal chill turned evergreen. For this, we call upon the dry, camphorous notes of cedar. Yet still, we are looking for something grounding amid the moon shadows and mistletoe. We found it in the brown-eyed rock rose, a variety of cistus. Sounds like a disease. This is an ingredient that's long been one of our favorites in resinoid form, but here for the first time, we used 3 of its extracts together, layering them to create an amber depth lit from within. We blended rich labdanum resinoid, extracted from the resin that seeps from the plant's leaves and stems, with fresher herbaceous cistus oil obtained by steamed distillation. To refine and sweeten the accord, we brought in cistus absolute. This is also derived from the resin, but using the solvent extraction process, producing a subtle note that lifted the shadows. We're not done yet. Approaching the distant stone circle, the wren boys are chased by darkness. Inside the cage, they carry a wren, the king of birds, captured. This winter songbird is silent. For the mystery of such traditions, an accord of enchantment was created with incense notes of olibanum, myrrh, and agar. Giola features top notes of roasted coffee bean, nutmeg, olibanum, Ceylon cinnamon bark, and clove bud. Middle notes of patchouli, bergamot rind, rooibos leaf, myrrh, tonka bean, and roasted tonka bean, and base notes of agarwood, vanilla pod, brown-eyed rock rose, tolu balsam, red cedar, and Peru balsam. Sorry. Okay. My review: harsh, old, wood, permanent marker, big red gum, or the smell of my dad's closet because he hid bulk bags of Fireball candy in there, pile of ash. Fades to a synthetic vanilla that smells like the rubber sole of my dad's LL Bean slippers. A lot of dad smells. Smells like a dad. My dad also hid Nesquik powder under his bed as a child, so that's a reoccurring theme in his life. After all this tonka bean talk, I rewore Le Labo Tonka 25. Smells like a Gap scent from the 90s. It's woody and deep, but it fades to a warm, soapy freshness. It's nice, but it could be from anywhere, I think. I've had a laundry scent conundrum for a while now. I've been using laundry essential oils instead of dryer sheets. After I moved out of my number one listener's home, where I shared laundry unit with them and used their dryer sheets from time to time, I discovered how amazing dryer sheets were. I moved here, temporarily used dryer sheets, but I didn't like how they were making my clothes. Like I could sense the waxy film that was developing on my clothes over time. So I stopped using dryer sheets, but I can't find a way to make my laundry smell good in the same way that dryer sheets give you that scent. So I've been adding essential oils. I've tried adding it to the laundry itself. I'm trying not to get oil stains on my clothes as well. I'm adding them now to my dryer balls. And I've been using a lavender essential oil that smells exactly like the McDonald's Happy Meal cookies from the early 90s before they changed them over to cinnamon. And I'm thinking actually that's why my cats smell like those cookies all the time. I purchased a neroli essential oil for the laundry. It doesn't really come through at all. But overall, these scents are pretty weak. The lavender smells weird. I mean, it smells like cookies. I don't know how to get my laundry to smell good. I mean, it smells clean. That's probably enough, but I would like some sort of refreshing scent. I need tips. Okay, let's move on to the internet. Real Housewives of Rhode Island is popularizing pizza chips, a Rhode Island staple. They're like, I mean, they're not this, but they're basically pita chips with dried tomato sauce on them. Bring them to the beach. So let's see how quickly they nationalize, and Mondelez and whoever starts creating mass-produced pizza chips. All right, let's click on this mysterious TikTok link that I've sent to myself. Oh, the Dairy Queen in Moorhead, Minnesota, is considered a rogue Dairy Queen, which operates outside of the confines of corporate standards, serving many off-menu items, handmade cakes, and other quirky inventions to an incredibly loyal fan base who line up each year for the opening day on March 1st, no matter the weather. It's also where the iconic Dilly Bar was invented in 1955, and they have since installed a statue to commemorate the frozen treat. I love the concept of a rogue Dairy Queen, and that they have like a warrant out for their arrest. And now that it's ice cream season, I am trying to hit up every single mom and pop version of Dairy Queen in my area, which I will get to later in the episode. I did go to one of them, almost went to two, went to one. So I'm going to try and make this a weekly thing if possible. Oh, okay. So here's a different TikTok link. I've talked about Sarah Shoots. She reviews food in her car in the Virginia and DC area. She hits up a lot of, like hole in the wall, Jonathan Gold style places, and some more mainstream, like trendy places. But she does pretty good food reviews. Unfortunately, she filmed a video, a food review video, down the street from where a person was dying and sort of made fun of the person who was dying. And people are upset with her. She posed with her husband in front of the ambulance scene and took a picture. It's not very tactful. So, I don't know. Not great. It's weird because she does a lot of like nonprofit and community work. She pays off school lunch bills with the money that she makes on TikTok. So I don't know what's going on here. Poor judgment. Okay. Brian wrote to me, even though we live together, he texted me that Graham Norton was on off menu this week, and he has a hot tip. He puts jalapeno in his white wine, which I could not have received a better tip for summer. I will be doing that. Oh, I also saw a hot tip on TikTok that I didn't write down, but if you're looking for a spicy jalapeno, because, okay, jalapenos, I think it was University of Texas who work on a lot of jalapeno breeding, or maybe Texas A&M, one of those. They accidentally reduced the spiciness of jalapenos over time because they're breeding for production and disease resistance. So in the midst of that, the heat level has gone down. Um, so if you want to try and find a spicier jalapeno, look for a curve in the jalapeno because it'll show that's a sign of stress or like water stress. And that'll indicate a spicier jalapeno. I haven't proven this. I haven't done any trials, but I did go to Walmart over the weekend and only pick out curled jalapenos. So we'll see. Okay. I do want to shout out La Cantine in Bushwick for the desserts that they had on the menu this weekend. They were so compelling to me that I almost considered just driving up to New York to eat them and then driving back home. Ooh, okay. So first, Thai basil and passion fruit pavlova, vanilla meringue, Thai basil creme diplomat, passion fruit curd, whipped cream, and olive oil. And of course, they made a tiramisu, a raspberry and dark chocolate tiramisu. I mean, oh God, I'm losing my mind. I just I just need to make this. So I am thinking about purchasing passion fruit curd because I don't really have access to passion fruit itself. When I worked in pastry kitchens, we had access to passion fruit pulp, I think, or some sort of like processed passion fruit. But I think I'm just going to buy a passion fruit curd and maybe make like a passion fruit tiramisu or something. I don't know. We'll think about it. I want to make it for my sisters when they come next month, but one of my sisters doesn't like fruit desserts, so I'm gonna have to compromise. Okay. Oh, I did look up. Yeah, so I was thinking about Thai basil or just basil flavored desserts in general. When I worked at cocktail bars, I remember trying over and over again to make basil syrups or basil flavored cocktails, and it is so difficult to extract that basil flavor properly. And even if you do it properly and it doesn't come out scummy and nasty, it's just not very strong. And when you're mixing it with other things, it quickly dissipates. I did find a recipe for someone who made what did they make? This stupid berry cake, berry basil Fraser. I don't care about that, but they do make a basil cream diplomat. 1 cup of whole milk, 50 grams of sugar, 20 grams of cornstarch, 2 large eggs, pinch of salt, 3 to 4 sprigs of fresh basil, butter, gelatin, something cold. They don't really specify. They forgot to add what it was, and then whipping cream. So, how do they extract the flavor? Recommending simmering the basil in the milk and flavoring the milk or cream. I mean, that's one method. I guess you could make a syrup, which I did in cocktails a lot. Steep the basil in the simple syrup. I've also seen some methods where people blend it, like for basil ice cream, blitz it up. You blanch it and then you blitz it. I don't know. I'm also considering just buying basil flavored oil. TBD. I don't know. I don't. Making and experimenting with pastries when you live with one other person is kind of always a risk. And I don't know if it's always worth the money and effort and resources, but we'll see. So according to Reddit, the Cheong method, best for flavor. Combine equal parts fresh basil leaves and sugar in a jar and let sit in the fridge overnight. The sugar draws out the oil, creating a highly aromatic, intense syrup without any heat-induced bitterness. Now that's a good tip. All right, let's get into 90 Day Fiancé. Do you remember Forrest, the man who has a fuzzy blanket as a tablecloth in his house? He was also wrapped up in a human-sized banana leaf and left out in the sun by hotel staff. So he's heading home to the U.S. from the Philippines with his family. He brought his mother and her boyfriend with him. The mother's boyfriend has been staring into the sun the whole trip. I think he lost his passport a few times. So they're packing up, and his mother is packing her suitcase full of bags of potato chips to bring home. And Forrest tells his mother that he thinks the potato chips are going to explode on the plane because of the change in air pressure. Forrest's mom says, well, people bring their dogs on the plane and they don't explode. Yeah, mystery solved. So I did look this up out of curiosity, and it's pretty rare that this actually happens. So right before Forrest and his mother and her boyfriend leave the Philippines, he places his cowboy hat. First of all, he's wearing a cowboy hat this whole episode. He places his cowboy hat on his girlfriend, Sheena, who's been sobbing since the first episode. And he tells her that she has to wear it every day after he leaves. They do monitor each other via cameras 24/7, so she actually is probably going to have to keep up with that. Kim from 90 Day Fiancé reveals, so that was 90 Day the other way. Now there's 90 Day the single life. If you don't know what 90 Day is, this is going to be really confusing. Basically, after people on 90 Day with failed relationships become single, they are invited to participate in a show called 90 Day the Single Life, where they date other Americans, typically. Not always, but sometimes. So Kim was scammed by a rapper named Soulja Boy, not the Soulja Boy. It was a fake Soulja Boy. I think he was in Nigeria. Anyway, she's on the single life now. So she reveals to us that instead of putting a star on top of her Christmas tree, she puts a sparkly top hat on it, which is so scary to me. It sort of makes it feel like the Christmas tree is alive and is a cabaret dancer who lives in your house. I think it's so scary to me because of the Rocco's Modern Life episode where they go skiing and the pine trees come to life and try and kill them. Vanya is another awful component in 90 Day the Single Life. She has the most boring and contrived storyline of the season where she's dating this doctor who doesn't like her. So she's about to leave on a 2.5-week trip, and she invites the doctor over, who's mad that first of all, she's celibate. So she's not going to be cheating on him on her 2.5-week trip in Europe. But she wants to go out dancing, but the doctor doesn't want her to go out dancing because it's shameful. Anyway, the point of the story is that she takes bags and bags of fruit out of her fridge to make a fruit plate for him. He's coming over to pick her up to take her to the airport. It's like, why do you have bags and bags of fresh fruit in your fridge before you're about to leave on an almost 3-week trip? Nobody eats the fruit. She makes this giant fruit plate. Nobody's eating it. Then she's like, okay, I'm going to go put this fruit plate in the kitchen. Then we can go to the airport. It's like, oh my God. So Vanya was originally on 90 Day for dating someone in Eastern Europe who lived with his mom, didn't have a job, and loved to play basketball. And then the night she arrived in Eastern Europe to meet him for the first time, he met up with her, and then he told her that he had to go to a film club at 11 p.m. because he's a film buff. They did not make it past the second day of her 2-week trip. All right, another mysterious TikTok link. Let's click on it. Oh, Mary's Marvelous. Mary's Marvelous was one of those places in the Hamptons, like an expensive prepared foods a la Ina Garten, Barefoot Contessa place in the Hamptons. It's closed, but now she's an influencer, Miss Mary Marvelous, and she is teaching us how to make this very, very long sour cream coffee cake that she makes. And it looks amazing. It's more of a streusel layered. I don't know. She has these very long pans that she makes it in, and I'm obsessed. Whoever is doing her social media for her is killing me. She's like, I'm going to show you how to make the coffee cake. And then it's like in 17 parts. And each part is like, here's the pan that I make the coffee cake in. The video ends. You need to find someone else to do your social media. I guess she's also on Substack now. I think she's making a cookbook. Fire your social media team. Okay, so the thing that I'm seeing now on TikTok a lot is a easier way to make dumplings in batch, if you will. So you make a dumpling, ground meat or whatever filling. You make it into a ball with onion, whatever flavorings you want to do, and then you you make meatballs essentially. So these are going to be perfectly round by nature. You take the meatballs, you lightly dip each of them in water, and then you roll in flour. And you repeat this 4 to 5 times until a soft coating forms. So you're making a layered dumpling dough. And you can do this in bulk by putting the meatballs in a strainer, a colander, and then dipping in water and then dipping in flour. So over time, you're going to build up this noodle dumpling wrapping coating, and then you just cook them in boiling water. And once they float, they're done. Now, this looks pretty foolproof, but my question is like part of the appeal of dumpling wrapper dough is that it's kneaded. So you develop that gluten and it has sort of a chew like pasta. This isn't kneaded at all. So I'm curious what the texture of the dough would be. It might just like, I don't know. I'll try it. Let's get into America's Culinary Cup Season 1, Episode 8, sponsored by Dawn Power Wash, Rivian, and Dippin' Dots. Padma walks out of the elevator with bangs. It's like, okay, you can't just cut bangs in the middle of the season between episodes. I'm wondering if she had a mental break in between episodes 7 and 8 after the 2 male judges, Wiley and whoever the other one is, offered to massage her feet, one guy per foot, one guy, 1 foot. I did watch this episode on a different TV, and I was like, oh my God, not only did Padma get bangs, but the male judge, whose name I don't know, got frosted tips. And then I realized, oh no, my TV's colors are just broken. So we're down to 6 people. Can't wait for this to be over. The commandment this week is consistency. So they have to make 30 of the same dishes using a particular cooking method and fish. These challenges are never straightforward. So hard to explain them. Okay, so Buddha has an advantage from the previous episode. He gets to pick his method and his team. I think he picks poaching. So he's going to poach 30 fish, and he picks Matt, the Bocuse d'Or winner. So most of the episode is people pinboning fish, which is absolutely riveting. If fish bones are something that interests you, if you're a stray cat, you should definitely check out this episode. Padma starts eating the fish. She gets a bunch of bones in her mouth from Keith's deboning job. Keith did not debone the fish very well. Matt and Buddha obviously win. Everybody else has to cook against each other again. So the 4 remaining people have to make an omelet, just one French omelet. Keith's omelet sucked so badly that he went home. I mean, it wasn't even like, it looked like a map of a country with scraggly edges. There are a lot of issues. Okay, that's all I have for that. Top Chef, Season 23, Episode 7. Now, before I get into this, I will say that I saw a video of Bobby Flay, famously hated by my mother, talking with Antonia LaFaso. And they were talking about the Top Chef to Food Network pipeline. And Antonia referred to Top Chef as a puppy mill, which I love. So there are a lot of people on the internet theorizing about what the hell is going on with Seeger and everybody with the broken arms on the show. My theory going into the episode is that Jen goes home because all her limbs are broken. She's in a full body cast, and they let Seeger stay, which is why they didn't have anybody come into last week's episode of Last Chance Kitchen. But so far, Jen is still there, so that is not what's happening. Now, I did read into this because people are talking. I heard from people on TikTok comments that Seeger was so mad that he stayed up all night smoking a hog and went home for it that he was like, I'm not even going to Last Chance Kitchen. I'm just going home. Who knows what happened? There are questions that are unanswered still, and we'll get to those. Okay, so we open with Anthony saying that he feels like he's been here forever, which, I mean, same. Kristen is in a rocking chair in the kitchen because this episode is sponsored by Cracker Barrel. Apparently, there are over 60 locations of Cracker Barrel in the Carolinas alone. If you're curious, you can check out my episode where I go to Cracker Barrel for the first time. It's called First Time at Cracker Barrel. Spoiler alert, I had a bad time. Oscar reveals that he's never been to Cracker Barrel, which is probably good. So 2 cast members from Southern Charm show up, one of which is Craig, Paige DeSorbo's ex-boyfriend. It's Craig and a blonde woman whose son would just love that macaroni and cheese. Oh my God. They bring out the peg board game from Cracker Barrel, and everybody has to pick a peg to figure out what they have to cook. If you're a Northerner and you've been to Friendly's, it's the same peg game. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, so teams of 3. 3 teams of 3. Each person has to make a breakfast, a lunch, or a dinner dish on each team. Only one person from each team can cook at a time. It's a Cracker Barrel relay race. So Jen, with her broken arms, is somehow shucking corn. I was really into, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Duyen's. Duyen. Duyen's. I think it's Duyen, like the Vietnamese last name Nguyen. Duyen's fried green tomato and country ham sandwich. Her team lost. She couldn't find bacon, but she just found some raw country ham. Not raw, like cold cut country ham with a fried green tomato. Looked amazing. I don't really remember who won. Elimination challenge. Someone from Glee comes out and is the guest judge. They have to create a dessert fit for a queen, Queen Charlotte. The Queen Charlotte that Charlotte was named after. And they have to choose from a selection of Southern desserts. They have 3 hours to make a dessert for 60 superfans who will vote to determine the winner. Now, at work, we do a cookbook series, and one of them is, the whole thing is about the South, because that's where we are. But there's specifically a cookbook on Southern desserts. So I thought I had a pretty good handle on what the classic Southern desserts were, but there was one option called Sonker, and nobody chose it, I don't think, but I had to look up what Sonker was. I've definitely had this, but I didn't know what it was called. Okay, I'm getting an ad blocker now. Come on. North Carolina Sonker. North Carolina Sonker is a deep dish cobbler-like dessert originating from Surrey County, featuring a juicy fruit-filled base, often berries, sweet potatoes, or peaches, topped with a thick, tender crust, sometimes served with a sweet, milky dip. It is a historic, budget-friendly dish with Scottish roots and is characterized by a less refined dough than the traditional cobbler. Unlike cobbler, Sonker is deeper, more soupy, saucy, and often uses a dumpling-style batter rather than biscuits. Yeah, one of Brian's family members who does truck pulling. We went to the state fair and watched him. Oh, sorry, not truck pulling, tractor pulling. He does tractor pulling. We watched him lose badly in the tractor pull. He grows blackberries and brought over a blackberry. I mean, he might have called it a cobbler, but really it was a Sonker. It was okay. He grows blackberries that have seeds in them, so they're kind of nasty. Jen, with her broken arms, gets Atlantic Beach pie, which is my fave. I got a metal pie pan while thrifting over the weekend, so I might put that to work and make an Atlantic Beach pie. Jen is juicing lemons with her broken arms and then knocks over all the lemon juice that she's been juicing. Lawrence chose coconut cake. He's going to turn it into a tres leches cake. Duyen is doing a spin on caramel cake. As soon as Brian saw it, he yelled out that his grandmother used to make caramel cake. jumping out of his sleep to scream at the TV. Oscar's making a giant deep hotel pan of bread pudding that is never going to cook in time. He also puts it on the floor, which is insane. Call the health department. Brandon chose banana pudding, but wanted to do a tiramisu twist on it, which I thought was perfect. I mean, I guess banana pudding is basically tiramisu. And I don't love banana cream pie or banana pudding. It is a very popular cookout shake option. I've never tried it, but I will say if you're are in or around New York and you want to go to Pies and Thighs, they make a killer banana cream pie. The crust is wonderful and salty and buttery. So Anthony wins. He chose the apple stack cake. The bottom three, Oscar, his giant bread pudding did not cook all the way, cooked unevenly, and he had a broken whipped cream. Dwayne didn't incorporate caramel into her dessert that was based on caramel cake. She made a pandan rice pudding, which Tom said didn't have any flavor. Justin made a poor take on ambrosia salad that was too cold. He used liquid nitrogen on it, and he did not assemble it correctly. Meanwhile, Jen is having a different medical emergency. She's basically having a stroke. Her face is frozen on one side. Justin gets sent home. He should be sent to the hospital with his wife, who's having a stroke. They finally decide to take Jen to the hospital after God knows how long. Kristen calls everybody. But hold on. Before that, Kristen calls everybody back and is like, we're doing restaurant wars. Like, you have an hour to plan your restaurant. And Jen is like, oh, I'm having a stroke. So they take her to the hospital. Kristen lets Justin know that he can come back onto the show because his wife can't come back. They're going to ask her to leave because she has too many medical issues. It's not great. Justin decides he needs to be in the hospital with his wife. Jen gets better. She's not having a stroke. Thank God. So she does encourage Justin to go back to Last Chance Kitchen. So that's where we end things. Now, so Justin's going to go on to Last Chance Kitchen. But here's the thing. Jen, I think, left the show. I don't think she's going to go back. They asked her to leave for her own well-being. Because who knows what's going to happen if she tries to go back. She can't do restaurant wars. So now one of the restaurant war teams is down a person. It's going to be 4 versus 3. They can't have 3 people for restaurant wars. So I'm wondering if they're going to bring back someone from Last Chance Kitchen or Seeger. I don't know. Anyway, Last Chance Kitchen. I mean, the best part about this show is that each episode is 12 minutes long. Justin enters. They draw knives with adjectives on them, and they pull whipped, glamorous, alien as their adjectives. Doesn't make any sense. Rhoda starts talking about how she believes in aliens. Rhoda makes mushroom toast. Justin makes seared scallops, tuna tartare, and whipped beef tallow with caviar in it. Rhoda wins. I agree. I mean, you don't need the tuna tartare when you already have seared scallops. The seared scallops are hot. Then you have cold tartare. Then you have cold beef tallow. Nobody wants to eat that. Okay, let's get into what I ate last week. April 20th, 2026. It was 4:20. Fortunately, weed is illegal in this state. And I'm not trying to make friends with drug dealers at this point in my life. April 20th, 2026 was a Monday. 8 a.m. Little Waves coffee with half and half made at home. 9:30 a.m. Leftover butter curry with basmati rice. 2:30 p.m. Scrambled eggs with provolone, Virginia ham, chives, and chive blossoms made at home, and a leftover brownie. 6 p.m. Orzo with chive blossoms, butter, parmesan, and spinach made at home. 8 p.m. A can of cherry spindrift. I don't have any notes from this day. April 21st, 2021. I mean, 2020. Whoa, I had 2025. 2026. It was a Tuesday. 8 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 9 a.m. leftover green curry with rice. 12:30 p.m. garlic and herb water crackers and a cherry spindrift. 3 p.m. marinated gigante beans. 6:30 p.m. chicken katsu over romaine lettuce with marzetti creamy Caesar dressing, parmesan, and black pepper, made at home. I think this might have been the last of the garlic and herb water crackers that have been discontinued, sadly. At least this past week was the last of them. We're in an extreme drought here in North Carolina. It rained this day. My cats got confused because it was dark outside, so they stayed in bed till noon. They were also confused because it was cold, so they thought, oh, it must be nighttime. It's cold. So they stayed in bed all day. They finally went outside for a little bit on the porch, and a beautiful, graceful butterfly floated towards my cat to say hello, and he slapped it. My supervisor, I was talking to her about Chengdu 7, one of my fave weird restaurants, and she's like, yeah, I've been there, but I've also been to Chengdu in China. She wanted to let me know that one of the worst bathrooms of her trip throughout Asia was in Chengdu. She said it was so much worse than a hole in the ground. Nothing was worse. She said that the ethnically Chinese were fleeing from the bathroom. It was so bad in there. She said that people, it was like one of the first modern toilets in that area that she was in, and people didn't know how to use it, apparently. She described Chengdu as looking like the buildings had all fallen down, but really they were in the process of being built. It was just a pile of rubble all over the place, but that was just where they were pulling materials from. So that was interesting. She also told me that Shoney's can make a salad bar bad. Spent the rest of the afternoon looking at people's moms on Facebook and LinkedIn to see if they were open to work. Speaking of parents, on this day, I remember the time one of Brian's friends' dad showed up to my 30th birthday party and ate a bag of lettuce. Marzetti Caesar dressing has this flavor profile to it that reminds me of the 90s. It reminds me of why I didn't like ranch dressing growing up. It's sort of like a flatness. It needs some zip. Now, I will say that when I was cutting up this chicken katsu to go over the Caesar salad, a lot of the crumbs from the panko crust fell off, and they were the perfect crouton to the salad. Perfect, like, toasted breadcrumb mix-in for the salad. Wonderful. But yeah, Marzetti Caesar dressing is not it. I'm sorry. It's just, like, I thought I hated ranch dressing for so long, and it was really that I was not trying the right brand. Like, maybe I was having Marzetti ranch. It's just, no. I don't know how to describe it. April 22nd, 2026, it was a Wednesday. 7 a.m., counterculture coffee with half and half, made at home. 10:30 a.m., leftover katsu and basmati rice with cookout buffalo sauce, and a cup of coffee at the office. Cake room, New York Times cooking page-a-day calendar recipes for Sor Io de lac Belache, which is grits and tomato stew, avocado salad with herbs and capers, broiled turmeric salmon with corn and green beans, and classic okonomiyaki, in parentheses, Japanese cabbage and pork pancakes. 4:30 p.m., a Bryant Bridge Gateway Golden Ale, part of a hot pepper ale, and duck frites at Bull City Brewing in Durham, North Carolina. 5:30 p.m., a sip of Fonta Flora Maplewood Maibach, sausage rolls, Gailon Chat, and London mixed grill with garlic naan at Viceroy in Durham. 7 p.m. Popcorn and part of a full steam IPA at Carolina Theater in Durham. Start off with the coffee. There's no noticeable difference between counterculture coffee and really any other more expensive coffee that I buy. So I'm just going to stop trying and I'm going to keep buying counterculture. They have ridiculous, like 30% off sales. That's what I'm going to be doing moving forward. I took leftover katsu and basmati rice with a packet of cookout buffalo sauce to the office. The buffalo sauce was cloying. I do want to shout out the New York Times page a day recipes. I sort of glossed over the recipe from last week. That was an air fryer recipe for grilled cheese, which is just an insane recipe to write. It was so short. It was basically like 2 slices of bread, mayonnaise, 2 to 4 slices of cheese. Heat the air fryer, assemble the sandwich, and put it in the air fryer, 3 minutes per side. Like, I don't think we need a recipe for that. One of my sisters texted to let us know that she saw someone with the vanity plate ham lover, HAMLUVR. My work parking lot smelled like magic bars again. For some reason, the meal that I ate, this soggy katsu, rice, and a packet of buffalo sauce reminded me of this Canadian YouTuber that I used to watch like 15 years ago who was a hoarder. I want to say that his series was called Cooking with Hoarders, but I don't know if I'm making that up or not, or if I just called it that. It was a person who I believe was in Canada living in utter filth and would make cooking videos. His kitchen was so crowded with trash that he would often have to strain noodles in his bathroom using either the toilet or the tub. Yeah, I watched all his videos back when YouTube was first coming out. I hope he's okay. The New York Times cooking app widget on this day was a cheeseburger soup recipe, which sounds like an episode title of this podcast. I had a longer day in the office than usual since I was waiting around to go out after work instead of driving all the way home. I was going to go to Carolina Theater because Maggie Winters was opening up for Connor Wood. So I was in the office, till maybe 4, at which point people start hanging out and talking a lot. I overheard an editor bragging in his cubicle to other editors that he grew up near a swamp. Okay, Shrek, I gotta get out of there. Okay, my coworkers are not as bad though as when I worked at the library, and I was in a department with my former supervisor who was retiring. So it was just going to be me in the department. So we had to hire like one other person. 2 men were interviewing for the job, both of which had long ponytails. They both looked identical. They both had long, dark ponytails. So we hired one of the guys with a ponytail. I didn't realize how long the ponytail of the guy who was actually hired until we finally met in person at a conference and his hair was down. And we both had long brown hair down our backs like we were Mennonites. And I was like, we cannot stand next to each other. They're going to fold our department. So I ended up leaving the library. My contract was up and moved over to another unit. And he's the only one left in the department. Maybe if I had started wearing a ponytail, they would have renewed my grant term. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Brian says that every guy who works in a library is a time traveler from 2005. Okay, so I left the office and I drove over to Durham to go see Maggie Winters perform. My tire pressure sign is on my Honda. even though I keep filling the air tires up and my tires are not flat. Brian said that this is a problem with Hondas. Um, it's on in his Hondas, but it's okay. But in his car, it's just like one little exclamation point in the corner. On my Honda dashboard, it's like 12 flashing emergency signs, like my car's about to explode. Like, I'm so afraid that the wheels are gonna fly off at any second. All the parts of the car are gonna fly off, the nails are gonna come loose, and I'm just gonna be in a seat driving a steering wheel down the road. What is the point of this? I mean, I'm in panic mode every time I'm driving because there are like 40 alerts going off because of the air pressure, and I don't know how to make it go away. Brian reset the sensor and then it came back on. Like, what's the point? My tires aren't flat. Did Honda invent this so that men have something to do, so they can go and get their tires pumped up every week? They can go get their basketball pump from their neighbor's garage and pump up their tires. Can you use a basketball pump to pump your tires up? I listened to Arthur Schwartz on the drive to Durham, and he said that Smitten Kitchen has the best brownie recipe that he's ever tasted, and he's made a lot of brownie recipes. He says it's not too cakey, not too fudgy. Spoiler alert, I am going to make these brownies, and I will talk about them later in the episode. Okay, so I went to Bull City Brewery, because none of the restaurants were open yet in Durham. They all open at 5. It was like 20 till 5. I stopped and I got a beer, like next to the parking lot that I was parking in. And I was the only one in there. Some families started filtering in to eat burgers. I was like, what kind of brewery is this? I have to say, the fries were incredible. They were super skinny shoestring French fries cooked in duck fat with rosemary. They were so delightful. I would go back for the fries alone. It makes me want to go back and try one of the burgers. The hot pepper beer was weird. It tasted oily and salty. I made Brian drink the rest of that, and I ordered some sort of lager that was fine, not dry enough for my taste. There are a couple Indian restaurants in downtown Durham. I keep getting recommended Chini. My friends who visited from Austin went there and said they were fabulous. But I really wanted to try Viceroy because it's like British style Indian pub food, if that makes sense. And they do the food at that Irish bar, Bull McCabe's. And I tried some of that and I was like, oh, this is good. So I went to Viceroy. The vibes were so bad and weird. We got in and the host was like this huge muscle dude, super aggro. The first thing he said to us is, okay, you have a 90-minute limit. Are you going to be able to eat within 90 minutes? I was like, yeah, I think so. If you bring the food out in time. It's like so hostile. And then he was so loud. The whole time we were sitting there, we could hear him at the host stand in his tight t-shirt answering spam calls and like talking to spam bots, calling spam bots back to make sure they didn't want a reservation. It felt like Brian's like, it feels like there's a 50% chance that there might be some sort of allegations here. We got the Gailon Chaat, crispy chickpea battered Chinese broccoli topped with onion, tomato, and house chutneys. Fantastic. Loved it. Sausage rolls, curried pork sausage, and a puff pastry served with mustard aioli. These were okay. The sausage tasted like it was vegan sausage. Like, it didn't taste real. It didn't have a lot of fat in it. I was expecting more of a fatty sausage interior. Overall, it was just dry on dry. Like, the puff pastry was very dry. I mean, I guess as it is, but it wasn't flaky. It was very short, if you will. The London Mixed Grill, Hariali and Angara kebabs, chicken tangri, lamb boti, and masala shrimp sizzling with onions, served with rice, and we added garlic naan. Garlic naan was fantastic. This whole London Mixed Grill was pretty good. I didn't love that the chicken was drumsticks. We got to choose our spice level. We got it pretty hot. It was perfectly hot. I mean, we could have gone hotter, but I was happy with what we chose. I think we chose the second hottest. Um, I mean, I would go back here, I think, but I think I would try Chini next because it felt so strange in here. Maybe I'd also go later. We went like at 5:20. The Maibach was pretty good, actually. It was really fruity and it tasted like honeydew melon, which I don't like, but it really worked. Texture-wise, the chicken drumstick tasted like a hot dog, which was weird. The water pressure in the bathroom sink was very low. Okay, so then we went to Carolina Theater to go see Connor Wood. We were seated in the middle of a big gaggle of girls who were shouting at each other over us while Brian was on his Zappos app looking at the deals. So this is the second time that Brian and I have been to a Connor Wood show. If you don't know who Connor Wood is, I didn't know who he was either. I mean, we're really just going to see Maggie Woods. But here's the thing, Connor's funny. He blew up, or the way I found out who he was through a conversation he had with his podcast co-host where she said, "I have purse." And he said, "I have purse." It's the "I have purse" guy. So most of his fan base is like 20 to 24-year-old soon-to-be nurses, girls in nursing school who might get married soon, maybe some girls in MLMs. So when Brian and I are there, the first time we saw Connor, we had really good seats. And the girls around us said, "Why are you here? How did you get these seats?" It's like, I can't. Here's the weird part. Maybe there are like 3 to 4 boyfriends at each show that get dragged along. So Brian looks like a boyfriend that was dragged along, but I look like I dragged him there. So I'm like the old hag at the Connor Wood show who's obsessed with Connor Wood. It's just a bad look. It's embarrassing. But here's the thing. Connor is very funny, and I think he needs to diversify his fan base, and I'm here to make that happen. So he's getting into his 30s. He's sort of at a phase in his life where all his friends are getting married, having kids, and his thing that he talks about for his stand-up is being alone, living alone, being lonely, not wanting kids. Getting weirder. Things are getting a little weird. I think he's getting a little bit too weird and old to have 22-year-old girls as his fan base, because the older he gets, the weirder it's going to get. It's going to get weird real quick. I want to convince other people to go to Connor Wood shows so that the next time I want to go to one, I'm not the only person who's not a 22-year-old nurse. So consider checking out a Connor Wood show. April 23rd, 2026, it was a Thursday, 8 a.m. Leftover coffee with half and half, 11 a.m. 3 sunny eggs with Texas Pete hot sauce on olive oil toasted Whole Foods heritage grain sourdough made at home. 2:30 p.m. Blue Bell cookie dough ice cream. 6 p.m. Red beans and rice made at home. Yes, very hot today, so I did bring back ice cream for lunch. Mostly because I just didn't know what else to eat besides more bread. Now, I had all the ingredients to make red beans and rice. Sometimes it just works out perfectly. I had some celery I needed to use up, some frozen peppers that were thawing in the fridge that I need to use up, some leftover rice that I need to use up, and some kielbasa that I needed to use up. I thought, let me make some dirty rice. And then I was like, I can up this a little bit. I have red beans from Rancho Gordo. So I watched this old Kenji video. Funny to see how far along Kenji's come, and his videos are so much better now. But it was this old video for red beans and rice, and I followed this recipe pretty closely. So he says that you should really salt your beans while you're soaking them to help with uniform tenderness. And, I keep seeing a million different explanations. Don't salt them till the end or they'll fall apart. Salt them midway through. Kenji knows what he's talking about. I salted them as I soaked them, and I gotta say, they were perfect. So I think I'm gonna do this method from now on. I used Rancho Gordo Domingo Rojo beans. Oh my god. Sorry, I had to pause because I sneezed 3 times. Okay. Stuffy now. A classic red bean, Rancho Gordo says, essential to dishes like New Orleans red beans and rice, and equally important to many Caribbean cuisines. A small, mild yet dense heirloom bean, begging to be put to work as red beans and rice, chili con carne, or a wonderful ingredient in your summer salad. Holds its shape when cooked. Very true. Thick bean broth coats every grain of rice or noodle with a luxurious sauce. Very true. I love this. One of the reasons aficionados insist on a good red bean for the red beans and rice is the bean broth. A good red bean will produce a sauce that coats every grain of rice, and Domingo Rojo is that bean. Yeah. Some varieties can be waxy, others, like kidney beans, have extremely thick skins and a texture that's almost like baby food. Domingo Rojo is much better than the average red bean variety. Okay, so I will say in Kenji's red beans and rice video and recipe, he uses kidney beans, which I thought was weird. So he uses andouille. I did not have andouille, but I had North Country Polish style kielbasa, which Brian didn't even know. He was like, that andouille's great. Kenji recommends using a ham hock. It's optional. I did not use it. I don't have one. I had one in my freezer for like 2 years and finally got rid of it. I used onions, celery, some frozen bell peppers that we grew last summer as the Holy Trinity. I don't have cayenne powder on hand, but I did have Kashmiri chili powder, which I blended with some Chinese chili flakes. I didn't have powdered dried sage, but I had fresh sage and I had fresh thyme, so I used that. I soaked the red beans for about 5 to 6 hours with salt. And then I cooked them. Well, first, you sear the kielbasa or the andouille. Cut up the kielbasa, sear it. Then you do the Holy Trinity, then the herbs and spices. Oh, ton of garlic, of course. And then you add the beans and the soaking liquid. And then I cooked it probably for about 4 hours. It looked amazing, but I had to cook it maybe an extra hour to get that like creamy texture that you want towards the end. It took longer than I thought it would. The beans were so tender, but held their shape, even though I really pushed the cooking time. But yeah, that creamy, thick broth was really great. I almost thought I was going to have to add flour or something, but no, it just came together. So that was great. I ended up going over to Brian's parents' house later that evening, so I didn't get ice cream, but I guess I ate ice cream for lunch, so what does it matter? Dolly, Brian's aunt, and Brian's uncle were in town visiting from Boston. So we went over there. I was expecting to have some Mike's pastry. Dolly always brings Mike's pastry. They didn't offer us any, but she did bring a bottle of blue curacao as she does. They offered me a cocktail, but I couldn't do it. We sat around for about 3 hours getting bitten by mosquitoes, listening to Dolly tell us stories about Charlestown and how they got their nicknames. This guy who was a robber who they called Suitcase. Jimmy Bundles, they're always talking about. I guess he was always carrying a bundle of something, so they called him Jimmy Bundles. Dolly said, yeah, his wife sent him to the meat depot every day, so he's always carrying a bundle of something. About the last hour of hanging out with him, they were like explaining Geico commercials to each other. Boomers love to explain commercials. April 24th, 2026, it was a Friday. 8 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half. made at home. 11 a.m. Toasted heritage grain sourdough with Easy butter, made at home. 2:30 p.m. Whole Foods frozen cheese pizza with Texas Pete hot sauce. 6:30 p.m. A brownie made at home. Weird day. Brian declared that he does not want to eat frozen pizza anymore, but I have a few frozen pizzas left in the fridge that I need to eat. They're expiring rapidly, even though they're frozen. So I guess I'm just eating frozen pizza by myself during the day. Frozen Whole Foods cheese pizza is bad. It's soft and it's bad. Even when you overcook it, it tastes raw and underdone. And the cornmeal is a little bit too gritty. The dough, it tastes doughy. Not into it. So I didn't really eat dinner. Brian made himself buttered tricolor noodles, which took a few hours and involved opening every cabinet in the kitchen. I'm going to sign Brian up for Chopped, season 48 of Chopped, or whatever season they're on. He would probably spend the 30 minutes or however long they have boiling water and rummaging in the pantry and then gets it home. Okay, let's talk about the brownie I ate because per Arthur Schwartz's recommendation, I made the Smitten Kitchen my favorite brownies recipe. That's what it's called. It's definitely not my favorite brownie. I vowed that I would never make a Smitten Kitchen recipe because the name bothers me, but here we go. 3 ounces or 85 grams of unsweetened chocolate, roughly chopped, half a cup unsalted butter, 1 1/3 cup granulated sugar, 2 large eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, half a teaspoon of flaky sea salt or 1/4 teaspoon table salt, 2/3 cup all-purpose flour. So I had 75 grams of unsweetened chocolate, so I added a tablespoon of cocoa powder to compensate. I used half butter, half peanut oil. I used 230 grams of granulated sugar, should have used powdered sugar, and I used 15 grams of Dave's coffee syrup for a total of 245 grams of sugar compared to the original 265 grams. So my brownies looked exactly, there was a video attached to the recipe, and each step of the way, my brownies looked exactly like the brownies in the recipe all the way through. So I know I did it right. I mean, I made these correctly and they're bad. I mean, they're not bad, but they're not what I wanted. They did not develop the shiny, crackly crust. And I mean, I should have looked at the photos more closely. They don't have that shiny, crackly crust in the recipe photos. I cooked at 350 for about 25 minutes. Do not eat it right out of the oven. It's cakey and flavorless. You have to let it chill in the fridge because it becomes fudgy or dense and chocolatey. It's okay. Brian's like, "You're being critical. Like this brownie's fine." It's like, "Yeah, it's good. It's fine, but the King Arthur recipe is superior, I think." Um and I'm not going to be eating the rest of this pan. Brian's been picking at them all week, but I wouldn't make these again. It tastes like it was made with baking chocolate. I don't know how to describe that, but it tastes, you could like you can taste it. Brian's parents and aunt and uncle tried to get us to go to Zinc House with them, which is a fake winery that I don't know. Brian's like, we will not be joining you. He said that he follows a police scanner account. It's like some retired person who reports police scanner news, and it's basically just turned into this guy reporting car crashes outside of this winery on a daily basis because people are drinking and then getting into an accident as they pull out into a highway. So we told them we would not be joining them at the fake winery. I guess it's also like a Trumpy kind of place, so I don't know about, I'm not trying to go there. And thank God we didn't meet them there because Brian's parents didn't even get a drink there. They said there were 2 lines to get a mixed drink at this fake winery. So, yeah, instead they went and visited the NC State campus and drove onto the quad and almost ran students down. April 25th, 2026 was a Saturday. 9 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 10 a.m. Scrambled eggs with chai blossoms and a slice of toasted heritage grain sourdough with ECNE butter made at home. 2 p.m. An iced coffee with half and half from Strong Arm in Oxford, North Carolina. 3:30 p.m. A crispy chicken sandwich, French fries with ketchup, and black raspberry ice cream from Ethel's in Keysville, Virginia. 5:30 p.m. A crispy crunchy chicken tender from Parham's Stop in Kenbridge, Virginia. 7 p.m. Utz barbecue corn chips. A lot of chai blossom consumption this week. A lot of purple foods. Speaking of purple foods, black raspberry ice cream. My dad likes this flavor, so I ordered it at this. It's like an old-fashioned lunch truck or cart or car, they call it. It was purple, but it was gummy. It was not very good. I didn't finish it. Do you think they got rid of purple ketchup, the Tinky Winky ketchup, because the people who own our food companies think that purple ketchup was making our children gay? Purple ketchup was nasty. I don't know if it was like a psychological thing, but it did taste disgusting. So going to take a break from Durham and Raleigh restaurants and start hitting up the random ice cream and hamburger and hot dog family Dairy Queen locations in the small towns around us. So I was deciding between Debbie's Drive-In and Ethel's. And we ended up going to Ethel's. And crispy chicken sandwich was excellent. Huge piece of chicken. Big sandwich. Brian got a cheeseburger with like way too much mustard on it. The fries were good. It seems like they're known for their smothered fries, which is really what we should have gotten. The black raspberry ice cream was fine. I don't think they're making their own ice cream. Very gummy. But it was a good stop. We went to a really good thrift store. Brian spent like an hour looking at their tool section. They had a lot of really seemed to be like handmade old Swedish rag rugs. They had they had tons of stuff. Stayed there till it closed. They had to kick us out. Stopped at a gas station on the way home. Had decent gas prices. That's why we pulled over. And I'm glad we did, because they had crispy, crunchy chicken. Best gas station chicken around. They also had Coke Zero Tall Boys. So this was the second gas station we stopped at. We stopped at a gas station to use a bathroom. Brian got 2 cans of Diet Pepsi. Disgusting. Stopped again for cheaper gas a few minutes later. This was the spot, Parham's. They have Coke Zero Tall Boys, dried local beans. So I got some navy beans. Local pork products, which I am kicking myself for not getting. They had all kinds of local pork products. They had Brew Doctor kombucha, my favorite kombucha. Of course, they had crispy, crunchy chicken. I went on Google reviews and people are saying they have the best barbecue sandwiches. I mean, I'm going back to this gas station. That sounds ridiculous, but I'm going back to the gas station. I did get a bag of Utz barbecue corn chips that were expired. They were gross. They just tasted sweet. I forgot to mention that at 11:30 a.m. before we left on this trip, Brian was sleeping on the couch and jumped up from his sleep to run over to the fridge and eat leftover tricolor pasta. April 26th, 2026. It was a Sunday. 9 a.m. Counterculture coffee with half and half made at home. 10 a.m. Leftover red beans over basmati rice made at home. 2:30 p.m. Steak with A1 sauce. Mixed greens with cranberries, walnuts, and Olive Garden Italian dressing. A small piece of rosemary sourdough with Kerrygold salted butter. 2 glasses of Malbec. Sara Lee pound cake with vanilla ice cream and hot fudge. A cup of coffee with half and half. part of a Kahlua and soda with lime, and Italian wedding cookies from Mike's Pastry in Boston at Brian's parents' house. We celebrated Dolly's birthday with steaks. Brian grilled the steaks. These steaks did not have a lick of fat on them. It's like eating dog food. Brian did a great job cooking them, but there's not much you can do when a steak doesn't have any fat in it. So the A1 sauce came in handy. Brian's mom got Food Lion chives for the baked potatoes. She served baked potatoes with bacon bits and sour cream and chives. The chives were looking rough. They were either yellow or completely raw, like dark green and slimy. Meanwhile, I have 4 chive plants that I am dying to get rid of. And I said, can I please give you some chives? Now, I don't want to be rude and tell you that you need to not serve those chives, but please let me help you and give you some chives. So I went and got some chives and cut the chives up super thinly. People were putting them on the butter, on the bread. People were saying, oh, fresh chives do taste better. They do taste better. You should put a chive plant in your garden. You don't need to do anything to it. It's just going to come back. Like, you don't even really need to water it. They just kind of live around. And it tastes so much better than anything you're going to get at the grocery store, which is going to be old and expensive. I brought over some chive blossoms too, but I don't know. I think that was a little too adventurous for the folks we were with to eat. Brian's mom put them in a vase with water, and I said, no, they're for eating. We had Sara Lee pound cake. Brian's mom made a pound cake, but then Dolly bought a pound cake. So we ended up eating the pound cake that Dolly bought. I gotta say, Sara Lee pound cake is disgusting. It tastes like styrofoam. We had Breyer's vanilla ice cream and some like squeezable hot fudge, which was fine. Dolly's cocktail of choice is Kahlua and soda. She drinks a lot of blue curacao, but Kahlua and soda is her drink. So she made me a Kahlua and soda. It's Kahlua with soda, spritz of lime. It's okay. I think Kahlua is a little sweet for me. It's syrupy, like an Amaro. I like sweet, but I need fat in it to counteract the sweet. I don't like straight sweet. And I probably had 4 Italian wedding cookies. They were good. Yeah, and then that White House Correspondents' Dinner, or whatever that was, the shooting thing happened. Huge shout out to the guy who continued to sit at his table and eat food while everybody else was hiding underneath the tables. Shout out to another guy who, instead of ducking and fleeing for his life, went around to the other tables and started drinking people's cocktails. I think we'll end it there. A fabulous week of food news. Bye, everybody.